Hello everybody, I'm Junia. Welcome back to Uncommon Sense. Thank you for being part of our Uncommon Sense family. My guest today, Randal Crawford, is a professor of art at Delta College. He earned a Master of Fine Arts in Fiber at Cranbrook Academy of Art, that's in Bloomfield, Michigan, and a BFA in Fibers at the Philadelphia College of Art. He also attended the Graduate Studies program at Banff Center School of Fine Arts in Alberta, Canada. He currently has an exhibition of his work at the Saginaw Art Museum until May 10th, 2013. It is called Ultrabication. Do I say that correctly, Randal?
Yes, you do.
Welcome, Randal. Firstly, why did you choose that name, and what
Great
does
question.
it mean?
Okay, I put two words together. It meant the ultimate fabrication, because I have so many pieces, and I really like to work in series and obsessiveness and all night long and day after day, so I wanted it ultimate fabrication. So I put the two words together and came up with that concept.
And it has to do with fibers?
It's all different media.
Uh-huh.
And that was one of the most exciting things for going into fiber.
As a student?
As a student, and now continuing. And I'd like to explain about fiber.
Please do.
Now. I chose fiber because it was one of the most broad mixed media. It allowed us to explore any potential, not just cloth and not just textile. We had people working in clay, ceramic, metal, wood, whatever your concept is, it allowed me to develop that. So if I want to, practice, use wood to create my sculpture or plaster or any other materials, it allowed me that opportunity to. And I wanted to go to Philadelphia College of Art. I went there my junior year at the pre-college program and just fell in love with fibers. The reason for the fiber was just so exciting for me because, again, it gave me every opportunity to try every medium now. And the show at the Saginaw Art Museum is actually seeing my vision come true. It was the largest space I ever got to make work in. Has so many pieces. I actually lived there night and day for 4 days, 24/7, working on it because I just finished a show at Studio 23 called 24/7 Visual Residual, which is about working 24/7. But the Saginaw Art Museum, just the space allowed me to see that vision complete. From I was using twist ties to sewing, I did a salt sculpture that fades into patterns. So back to the fiber, it just allowed me the opportunity to work with the most fabulous professors. And actually at Cranbrook, it's all sort of dovetails into one because someone may be working in metal or wood and be in print media or be in painting. It's all so homogeneous now and cross-discipline.
Does fibers then mean everything or everything but what?
Well, I think for me what the love of fiber was, my attention to detail and construction principles.
I see.
I really love the idea of whether it's sewing or gluing or connecting or making this assemblage for just day after day, hour after hour. I really love creating surfaces and structure. So I know that fiber, and I still weave though, and there is weavings in the show, but I know that was my passion for that major, just the idea to construct, and I love labor intensive. I love process stuff. Process is part of the content of my work. The making of. Some of my weavings, I may spend 2-3 years just threading the loom because they're sewing thread and it just starts off a cone of yarn, I dye it. But then if I got a concept, I just did a whole new wood bent sculpture. I wove wood that it needed no nails, it just interlocked in on itself and did a whole wall. Again, it was just, I write in sketchbooks, I have pads, paper everywhere with me, and I just get influenced all around my surroundings. And I'm just always constantly documenting. And again, this was a chance to just make it happen. It just was so big and enormous.
Yes.
I didn't know what undertaking, but I did it. And it was a wonderful accomplishment. And it felt real good.
when you approach your art, do you approach it as an idea or a problem to solve or something that has been evoked from something you sketched and saw someplace?
All three. First, it's a concept I develop, and then I technically try to problem solve it, what materials I need, everything. But usually it's just a thought, an idea, a concept, and then I take it into fuller development, into what materials I need. And sometimes they work. I do samples, and I do whatever it takes to make it work.
Oh, I love that.
And I believe in that as strongly and as passionately as I can say for my students and everything. I break things, clay pieces, I start another one. Things happen, just do another. Just keep going, don't give up, believe in yourself. This is what I'm always telling my students, and it goes back to mine. Sometimes, I would break a piece or it just wasn't going in the right direction.
Yes.
Well, I'd alter that and
Yes.
have to add another support system or another structure just to make it all have my message and my meaning.
And when that happens, how does it feel internally? Is it something visually coming into focus? Is it just an aha moment in your body? Is it an intuition that things are right?
Tuition. And then excitement about starting the next. And I want to go back already and tweak things. Like I've seen, I know things I want to change a little bit more. I always bring too much. I like excess. I brought way too much art, so it was about taking away, but I'd rather have too much to choose from. So I always like to alter and refine and challenge.
So as a child, did you gather things and put them together?
Yes. Back when I was always collecting and making little assemblages and collages. Even my mom says, and I'll never forget, my 6th grade art teacher, Karen Spoon, wrote on my report card from kindergarten, she was K through 6, that I am going to be an artist. And I knew I wanted to be all the time. That's why I went to the pre-college program in Philadelphia, and my teacher went to Cranbrook, so there was this lineage of the Cranbrook vision, and it just, everything is coming true in my life. I just love art, and I just feel you have to have a passion for what you do and believe in, and you can make it happen. Anybody can.
Tell us more about that.
Well, so many people nowadays, I just feel we live in this culture of, instant gratification or texting constantly, and here I'm weaving that may take me 4 or 5 years or sewing, and it just, I love that competition for myself and deadlines. And I want students just, they get frustrated when something doesn't go right. Well, you learn from those mistakes and make it better. And your second piece, if it breaks, will be even better, and you'll learn more. So I'm really work-driven and driven, and I just want more students. I walk down the hallway at Delta, and everyone's got their cell phones out. I love my iPhone. I love texting, but I do it on my own time and for a reason. But look up. So much of my influence, actually, for my work comes from my drive every day from Midland, seeing the fields and the color changes. I'm from Pennsylvania, which was so hilly and everything,
Yes.
and Michigan's so flat and plainer that I love that. The pattern that the cornfields have and the different fields of whatever's growing is just wonderful, the way the light hits it and the clouds settling down.
Do you see them as shapes before you see them as what they are?
Yes, maps, shapes, topography. I have over 10,000 pictures on my iPhone that I document everything with for ideas and concepts. Another thing that I like about, I just want to plug this, Facebook is I use Facebook as a journaling process of documenting all along the stages of my art so my students can see what I go through each day.
How generous.
And it's just been working great. I used to have my website and stuff, but Facebook's instant.
Yes.
And mine isn't for gossip and communication, it is for journaling. And it just has worked out so good. And I have quotes, I'll have artist quotes, my quote for the day. Now it's just been an ongoing thing for 2 years.
Can you make a person an artist?
Yes. If you have the desire and will and dedication. It's the dedication and passion. Yes, you can become, just like everyone can draw, and everyone can draw beautifully. It's just, again, sometimes it takes a little longer. Another thing, everything takes practice.
Yes.
And practice and doing. I don't even call it practice, just doing. And you know, when you're tired and stuff, you know, I get that complaint too, oh, I'm tired. Well, I work 50 hours and I may go home and pull 24-hour. That gives me more energy to make more, because I believe in deadlines, for one thing. If something's due, I want it perfect. And I just think it's important to have that goal in your life.
Is it important to learn how to draw so much as abstract these days?
Yes.
It is important.
So crucial. Again, at the art academy that I went to, we first learned just like Picasso did and all the artists, total realism. Everyone can draw. It's how you measure, perceive, and look, and plot the page out. And then from there, you take it further. At the beginning stage of an artist, I feel they should learn realism, color theory, everything, and then try to find your own way. And that's what we're really trying to provide our Delta students with, a strong foundations to then continue on to a 4-year university and further. And I love hearing success stories of all the different students throughout the 20 years I've been here.
Oh my gosh.
Going on 20.
Going on 20. I
Goes
see you have a
fast.
passion for teaching.
I really do. And I love seeing how it's all changed throughout the years, too.
How do you mean?
Well, except for all the texting and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I just like some of the technology, a program called Photoshop.
Yes.
I use it. I don't use it so much anymore, but it just saves, well, the computer itself, I had to type my thesis, I had to type everything. One wrong mistake, I had to type another 100-page.
Yes.
So I love technology that way, but it's all a tool. They're all tools. It's how you use those tools is what makes it personal and your own.
Interesting. I like the way you encourage people that something going wrong in a piece isn't really wrong. It's just that step, and then you take the next step.
I always tell mine is to work into it. Keep working on it. Work on it. And I always work like on 5 or 10 different things. So when something's not going right with this piece, I move over to that piece, or I start that drawing, or I go over to that painting. Again, that goes back to my fiber. I just get to do, whatever my concept of vision, I make it happen. Whether I have to learn a new woodworking technique to join something, or steam wood, or weld, or cast, I just do it.
Interesting.
And the internet has been great for that.
Oh,
That goes
say,
back
in
to
what way?
technology. Well, I'll research how to, make a 10-piece mold, and show me steps by that. So it's been a learning tool for me. I don't have to ask anybody. I just go online and figure it out myself.
What I'm getting from you, though, is how important it is to practice, how important it is to understand that you basically have theory, color, form, space. What other things do you have to consider in terms of a work?
Material usage, scale, size, construction principles. I just don't want a hot glue gun. I want something built so strong, if someone purchases it, that I'm proud of. So I really believe in craftsmanship. And
That's
craftsmanship
wonderful to hear.
me, things can be, it can look like a Rauschenberg and stuff, but it's well crafted. It just doesn't mean it's straight edges, but it's just beautifully crafted. And that's so important, craftsmanship. And I stress that to the students at the beginning stage. If it's a beautiful line, tape. Make it perfect. And practice and practice and practice. And another thing that I loved at school, and I keep loving throughout my travels around the world, is learning more. Art history, and just read and look at artists, and the Art 21 series. And I just think the more you look at, the more you do.
They say that people have different abilities. One happens to be visual, that you have a visual sense, you notice things. Yes, I'm sure you have that, right? I have that, actually. If things are a 1/4 inch off on a picture, I know it in the room. Not
At my
looking for-
house, I'll even move. If something goes here, I'll move it over there.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
but for the people who don't see things, can they be taught to see that?
Yes.
How would you do that?
Again, by, starting very simple, formal, back actually from the Bauhaus, the history of art, of just teaching them, sighting and looking.
I see.
One of the assignments we had to do in my three-dimensional design class in Philadelphia was to walk around the city and visually describe walking through the city in art terms, in language, the tall buildings, the wind, going through the narrow, streets. So we had to, describe through language what we were experiencing and then create that in three-dimensional planes out of wood.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, so many artists, let me say it differently, so many critics are always explaining art to us or art pieces to us. When you make a piece, is it meant to have a meaning
Yes.
beyond its looks?
Yes, definitely. Part of my meaning, again, is I'm a real formalist, but also expressionist. So the meaning can be, through color theory, line, shape, but also a lot of my stuff does have meaning. Some of this show has family items that I've made out of clay.
Oh, nice.
Some are my brothers, my dad's, relatives. My new piece, I have things I've collected throughout my travels. And so yes, there is concept and content. Art has meaning, but it can be formal meaning too. Such as the formalists and minimalists, painters.
Do you go into a meditative state at all in order
when I
to...
weave.
Because of the physical repetition, or because you're trying to find what design or what
Both.
outcome?
Three things even.
Yes,
and
what?
It calms me down. I like to do all the other stuff, so many, and the weaving, I'm there for those, 12-hour spans, and it's zen. It's very relaxing. I may only get a half inch done in 8 hours, and I'm leaning down like this, but to me it is zen, it is spiritual, it's exciting, and it's a journey too, because I don't have a pre-planned, so I'm mapping out and plotting out shapes as I progress, and because the way the loom is, you don't see the whole cloth until it's unrolled. So it's a magic carpet unrolling. And then I put them all together. I look at it as a series of short stories put together into a collection, because I sew different pieces together and shape them and stuff.
So explain a little more about that. You have different pieces, you sew them together, it's a short story. What would be an example of a story?
A good example is, as I'm weaving, like some days you can tell when I'm having a good day and stuff, not just how far I got done, how many different shapes I made and how you create. And the way when I sew them together and stuff, I think of them as stories coming together to become one piece, but based on a series of narratives. And the narrative can be the cloth even just draping, or the way I present it in terms of that.
But not a storyline as we might take it in.
More conceptually, or seeing where that line travels and that color field blends into the blues and then flows into reds and purples, that kind of lineage, that kind of linear.
And how long is a piece when you say you see them and join them?
Some I've had 20 yards.
Wow.
30 yards, 45 inches wide. I tend to overdo it all the time, which I like because it gets done.
I see you get such satisfaction out of weaving. Do you get different sense of satisfaction out of working with different materials?
Mm-hmm. Again, some are more instant, and they aren't, to me, instant could be a month.
Yeah.
But the weaving, they're all satisfying when they come together. But just for example of having patience, one weaving at Cranbrook, my entire holiday vacation I stayed because every time I used a yarn that the strings kept breaking. and it had about 10,000 strings. And my professor's like, that has to be done. So it
What has to be done?
my weaving had to be done. So during the holiday, I made it happen, and I had all these weights, and I'm gluing and rigging up a system, but it became finished, and it worked out perfect. It just took extra, way longer than I anticipated, but it was worth it.
How do you handle frustration?
Draw. I draw big, large drawings, real expressive and stuff, and detailed too, but I draw on large pieces of paper. Like one of the drawings in the show is 100 inches by 100 inches. But then I like small, intimate work too. I'm doing these twist ties, making hundreds of them where I'm sewing patterns on them and stuff. That was a vision I got in one of my sketchbooks that I wrote. The idea, I saw a twist tie as I was tying up, literally.
Do you think that sort of trends in artists in art affect you, or not really?
Yes and no. I really love the Art 21. I love going to New York to see what's always happening. But no, I feel at my age, I should know by now, through making art for 30-some, 40 years. No. Yes and no. I love young contemporary artists, love art history, but I believe in what I'm doing. And as long as I keep, we had a saying, polishing the same old stone, I'm not just recreating the same thing.
Yes.
But yet all my work has a cohesiveness that ties it all together.
And what is that cohesiveness? What is that thread that ties it together?
Pattern, color, layering, structure, layering, more layering.
Do you look for layers in people?
Actually, people do have layers. No, I never thought about that. I like that. Yes, the people definitely have deep layers, and some don't bring them all out.
Yes.
I tend to.
You tend to what?
Maybe bring out layers. I like talking about my art, and believe it or not, I used to be really shy and stuff. It was like my first teaching job. Teaching art history, actually, was my first job that made me have to be much more outgoing and vocal, and just to really get the art history down, and so the students could memorize it. But I was so shy, just would sit there making my assemblages.
How did you get over your shyness? That's very challenging.
I know. I was telling my students the other day, I think it just art, actually. And when, even in junior high, when things started happening with my art, winning those art shows and the competitions and the state things, and it definitely helps to get positive positive feedback. But along with positive feedback, you also need critical feedback. And that's the thing that I look at my work, and I ask different artists, Charles Breed, Larry Butcher, Lynn Menger, some other colleagues, of their opinion. And it's very important to me what, our people are seeing, are they seeing what I'm seeing? But I really value and respect different opinions on the work.
I see. So, we have learned quite a bit. I have learned quite a bit, let me put it this way. And firstly, you were very lucky because you were born and discovered early on what you wanted to do, namely be an artist. Secondly, you have great drive to learn what needs to be learned, which is the structure of art, right?
I got that from my father.
Because?
Was an engineer, and just his heads, and my grandparents from Germany, just their work ethic was just, she taught me how to sew too, just believe in what you do. And my dad was very supportive always, but just he would work on drawings, this is before CAD, all night long when something was due, and just watching him growing up. And my parents both supported me, meaning supported my art,
Yes,
like believing in their son majoring in fiber. Fiber, people think of something you need in your diet,
Right.
not even need it. And they were always there, just.
So that's another thing. You parents out there, support your children and what they do, and be the role models of hard work, get it done, get it done at a high quality. The other things I liked what you said, or I think is important to do, is to not get discouraged when things don't go right. You have to practice, and you have to ask for criticism from people who you respect, because that's how we learn. And it is always the going forward process rather than perfect, not perfect,
Right,
over.
and it's an ongoing for life.
Yes, and isn't that
And then
true in
it's
so
still
many areas? So
Fully agree.
we want to thank Randal for being with us today, and I'd like to ask you, as I always do, to please go out and do something kind for someone you know and someone you don't know, and do it again tomorrow. I would also like you to be an artist in your own life and realize we can all contribute to our communities and to our own lives with that sense of curiosity and expression. It doesn't have to be in art, it can be in other ways. So thank you for tuning in. Until next week.
To contact Junia, send her an email at info@juniadoan.com. For more information, program schedules, and news about future guests, go to www.juniadoan.com. Thanks for joining us. See you next time for Uncommon Sense with Junia Doan.